My family had always seen me as a failure. On Christmas Eve, they invited me over, not to celebrate but to humiliate me, to brag about my younger sister becoming a CEO earning $500,000 a year. Little did they know, the naive broke girl they were mocking secretly owned a $2 billion empire. And I had a plan. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked, or dismissed, hit subscribe, like this video, and get ready for a story where justice isn't just served, it's orchestrated to perfection. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. Christmas Eve had always been a complicated time for me. Growing up, my family had subtle ways of reminding me of my place, or rather, the lack of one, while my younger sister seemed to shine effortlessly in every social setting, achieving accolades that my parents paraded like trophies. I was the invisible disappointment. Overachievers in school? Check. Struggling financially? Check. The sibling who failed at everything from their perspective? Triple check. And yet, behind the scenes, I had been building a life they could never have imagined. I started my first company at 21. They thought I was dabbling in online businesses. I was, in fact, building a global e-commerce empire. I didn't brag. I didn't need to. The numbers spoke for themselves. $2 billion in net worth, a diversified portfolio of companies, investments, and assets. My life was luxurious beyond their comprehension, but they didn't know this. And admittedly, I had no interest in telling them. Let them think I was struggling. Let them parade my sister's $500,000 success in front of me like a badge of superiority. So when the Christmas Eve invitation came, a thinly veiled warning that my presence was expected to be a source of entertainment, I accepted. Not with dread, not with fear, but with quiet calculation. I spent the afternoon getting ready, choosing an outfit that screamed fragility and naivety. A soft, oversized sweater, leggings, barely their makeup, hair loosely tied back. I wanted to be the poor, clueless sister they had already decided I was. Driving to their house, I could feel the familiar pit in my stomach, the one that used to be filled with humiliation and longing for approval. But this time, it was tinged with excitement, because tonight, the story would flip. The door opened before I could even knock. My mother's face lit up, not with warmth but with a combination of pity and triumph. "Oh, you made it," she said, almost too sweetly. My sister stood behind her, all confidence and polished smiles, the very picture of success. "Hey everyone," I said softly, letting my voice convey just enough uncertainty to sell the act. The evening began predictably. The conversations were awkwardly centered on my sister, her new office, her raise, her achievements. Every sentence about her success was punctuated with subtle digs at me. "Maybe next year you'll get something to brag about," my father said, glancing at me over his wine glass, a hint of a smirk on his lips. I laughed nervously, feeling the old familiar heat rise in my chest, the heat of shame. But this time, I let it simmer, stoking the fire of strategy instead of humiliation. My internal monologue was sharp. Patience. Wait for the right moment. Watch how they treat me when they think I'm weak. The turning point came during dessert. My sister, full of bravado, announced she had bought a new Tesla for herself, a shiny red model. Everyone oohed and awed. My father leaned back satisfied, clearly enjoying the spectacle of my supposed inadequacy. I smiled politely, said nothing about my own life, and let them continue. The more they flaunted, the more obvious their arrogance became. Their voices grew louder, more dismissive. My mother, who had always subtly criticized me for my poor decision-making, leaned over and whispered, "I don't know why you even try. Some people just aren't meant to succeed." And that was it, the final piece of fuel for my plan. I sipped my tea slowly, letting the words settle in the room like a fog of expectation. I could see the subtle, barely concealed glee in my family's eyes. They thought this was a victory, a moment of superiority. But I was ready. After dinner, I excused myself, saying I had an urgent call. My sister, ever eager to maintain her spotlight, rolled her eyes. "I bet it's another failed investment," she said quietly to my mother, thinking I couldn't hear her. I did, and I made a mental note. Every insult, every doubt, "You'll regret it." I went into the living room, pulled out my phone, and tapped a few keys. Moments later, the room was filled with the sound of notifications. One by one, My family members looked at their phones in confusion. A press release had gone live. My empire had just acquired a major competitor, valuing the company at over $2 billion. Stock prices were skyrocketing. Social media was ablaze. I returned to the dining room casually, as if nothing had happened. "Oh, that?" I said, scrolling through my phone nonchalantly. "Just some business news." The effect was immediate. My father's jaw dropped. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. And my sister? She went pale, her confident smile cracking under the weight of reality. "Wait, that's you?" my father stammered. I nodded, keeping my tone calm, almost bored. "Yes, that's me." The room was silent. Their earlier arrogance, the subtle superiority, the endless reminders of my failures, all of it evaporated in an instant. They had assumed I was weak, that I was failing, that their laughter was justified. And now, faced with undeniable proof of my success, they were forced to confront the truth. I could see it in their eyes. Shock, embarrassment, and finally, respect. Not the fake, patronizing kind, but the kind that recognizes someone's strength when it cannot be denied. I allowed a small, satisfied smile. "You know," I said softly, "it's funny how people assume wealth and success are obvious. Sometimes it's the quiet ones you underestimate." My sister, who had spent the entire evening boasting, looked at me and finally stammered. I didn't know." "That's the point," I replied, eyes steady, voice calm. "You didn't know because I didn't tell you, and you treated me like I was nothing. Remember that next time." I left shortly after, the sound of their stunned silence following me out the door. The cold night air was refreshing. My heart was racing not with fear, but with exhilaration. Every step I took away from that house felt like liberation, not just from their judgments, but from the years of doubt I had carried silently. Driving home, I allowed myself a rare moment of reflection. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about cruelty. It wasn't about humiliating them in a mean-spirited way. It was about revealing the truth, in a moment that couldn't be ignored, to make justice feel inevitable. And tonight, justice had arrived in the quietest, most satisfying way possible. The psychological thrill of this revenge wasn't just in their shock, it was in the validation of my own journey. For years, I had worked silently, absorbed criticism, endured condescension. And yet, here I was, standing tall, undisputedly powerful, and unshaken. And the best part? I had never lost myself to anger. I had not shouted. I had not begged. I had not tried to prove anything to them in the moment. I had let my success speak for itself, and it did so louder than words ever could. Sometimes the sweetest victories aren't loud. They are quiet, calculated, and undeniable. My family thought they were celebrating one sibling's success, only to be confronted with the truth. They had misjudged me entirely, and that realization, that humbling, shattering truth is more powerful than any Christmas toast could ever be. If you've ever been underestimated, ignored, or treated like a failure, remember, your story is yours to define. Share this video, hit like and comment below what's the most satisfying moment you've had when people underestimated you. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of triumph, revenge, and the quiet power of being underestimated.